Hi everyone, today I'm doing a review on the Linda Hallberg new palettes. They're not that new now, but they kind of were when I received them. This is the Enchanted Secrets palette. This is the duochrome palette that she released. It's got 4 shades here and they all have color shift to them. And then the Metallic Mysteries palette, which are the metallic shades. And there's also 4 pans. They're exactly the same size as well. As usual, I'm gonna leave timestamps down below if you wanna skip ahead to anything. Let me just say, I know my makeup looks a little bit strange today. I did try out something similar to what I did in my 10 Looks On palette, which I'll leave in the cards if you haven't seen using these 2 palettes, but I decided to use blue instead of orange. And my husband reckons they look like eyebrows on my eyelids. So I don't know, I wanted to be a little bit different. I wanted to try doing a bit of graphic liner because for me this year, my goal is to actually do things that I wouldn't normally do. So I know this is not the most wearable look and that was kind of done purposefully. So yes, I received these 2 palettes as presents. So I don't actually know exactly how much they cost, but if I do the exchange rate, because they are $59 US for each palette, that is around 75 Australian dollars, which for a 4-pan palette is fairly expensive. It's pretty up there. Now I know that in Sweden, because I watch Angelica Nyqvist and she does say that palettes and makeup in Sweden is really expensive. Apparently $59 US for a palette is fairly normal over there. I also do remember her saying that the Maybelline and Gigi Hadid palette, because I was complaining that it cost $45 here, which I wouldn't have picked up anyway, even if it was 20 bucks, because kind of not really into Maybelline eyeshadows. And she was saying that over in Sweden, that palette was $65. It's crazy to think that this palette is cheaper than the Maybelline Gigi Hadid palette in Sweden. Obviously, things are quite relative, and if that's the price in Sweden, then I guess over there this is not considered a particularly high-end makeup purchase. But for me, and I think for the majority of people that saw the price, they did kind of think, oh, this is it's a little bit pricey. Who knows, if I hadn't have gotten it, I probably eventually would have picked them up because they just look so beautiful, and I do watch a lot of Linda Hallberg's reviews and tutorials. So I did want to support her. I like to buy indie brands, and this one definitely piqued my interest because it did look quite different to what's currently on the market. Now, my husband and my parents-in-law gave these to me, so they did buy them off the Linda Hallberg website directly. The website does ship internationally, and they also have free shipping for orders over $100, which I think is awesome because I feel like Linda Hallberg Cosmetics is a pretty indie company, and a lot of those indie brands don't offer free shipping. Free shipping is a really big incentive for me to actually buy something. So if your order is less than $100 US, the shipping is $10 to Australia or the USA, and then to Europe and UK, it's €5 or £5, which I think is pretty good. So really pleasantly surprised by that because again, I really like free shipping. I think it's a really good incentive for me to just hit that confirm order button. I should also mention that for $59 US, you are getting fairly large pans. They're not quite as big as your Sugar Pill ones, but they do contain 2.5 grams per pan, which I think is quite a lot of product. Personally, I prefer brands to give us less for less rather than giant pans because I will never finish up one whole eyeshadow. Realistically, I just won't, not on a duochrome eyeshadow. So there's a lot of product, but at the same time, wish there was kind of less and maybe half the price, you know, half the product for half the price. That would have been great. So obviously the packaging, they're the same. They're cardboard packaging, nothing luxe. There is a mirror in both of them, which I don't use mirrors in palettes because I have my own mirror, which I got free in Korea. Some people do ask me where I got this, and in Asia, when you shop in Asia, they give you free stuff in your shopping basket, which is awesome. I quite like cardboard packaging because they're quite lightweight. There's nothing special at all about this packaging. It just has the name. You've got an 18-month expiry date, which I personally never really pay too much attention to because I do use my makeup for longer than the recommended date, but this is 18 months. This is all vegan. And I also always mark when I got this as well, because I just kind of like to know how old my makeup is. So when I first got these and started swatching them and playing around with them, I did definitely notice that the texture is very similar to the Pat McGrath ones. It's got that smooth, fairly dry texture. The only shade that I found to be not so smooth was this one, which is Collision. It's kind of got more of a grainy feel to it, because I feel like it's got a lot of very high reflective shimmer particles in it, and it looks beautiful on the eye. It kind of has that wet look to it. And if you try and get this off, good luck, because even if you wipe this off with a wet wipe, the sparkles just, they go everywhere. I do find that the Pat McGrath ones are that little bit more, I guess, thicker in texture and more opaque. I feel like these eyeshadows are fairly sheer and they would work best over a base rather than on its own. However, of course you can use them on its own. I did actually do one look in my Project 10 Wears using these just on its own because I wanted to see what it looked like. But I mean, these are transformative shades. So they will look really different depending on what you use them over. Similarly with the Metallic Mysteries palette, I did find that they're quite sheer. In particular, Dead Star and obviously Collision is quite sheer. And it works better kind of like over something else. Gamma is probably one of the more opaque shades, but overall they're not quite opaque enough to, I feel, use them by itself. So obviously because of that, the way I use it is more of an accent palette rather than a palette that I would pull from to create just an all-encompassing look. The Pat McGrath ones are more opaque, pack more punch, and in my opinion, are better. I prefer them over the Linda Hallberg ones. However, the good thing about this is if you just want to buy, you know, the special dual chrome shades, you've got them in a 4-pan palette. Rather than the Pat McGrath ones, it's $125 plus only a few shades from the palette are the dual chrome special shades that a lot of people rave about. So you gotta weigh up what you want out of those things. I have actually done a comparison of these shades next to the Pat McGrath ones. So if you want to see swatches, dupes, all that stuff, I'm going to leave the timestamps in the description bar below. So how I found these to work best is definitely using a glitter base like a Pixie Epoxy, as well as, you know, using your fingers, or a sponge tip applicator would also work, and using a wet brush. Personally, I don't really like using a wet brush because I don't like dipping a wet brush into my pan. I feel like, I don't know, feel like that kind of contaminates it. I do it every now and again, but it's not my #1 preference, but that definitely does bring out the shine. I have done that before in one of my looks in the Project 10 Wears. Finger swatches will show you what it looks like at maximum opacity, but then when you use it with a dry brush, they definitely go on way more sheer. And you'll see that in my demo, because I did demo this look if you want to see how I got this face. Now all of these palettes are made in Italy, and I did look up the ingredients and I couldn't find anything with the exact ingredients in the exact same order. The Pat McGrath ones have similar, they share similar ingredients, but they're not exactly the same. So overall my thoughts on these palettes, I do like them. I would, if you were gonna pick up one, the Enchanted Secrets, I would go with that because it's more unique. The shades are definitely not the kind that you see every day. This one I feel like has more dupeable shades in it. They're not kind of like the shades that I would gravitate to on the daily. So obviously you need to factor that in when you're thinking about the price versus how often you use it versus does it add something unique to your collection. Besides the price, the one negative thing I do have to mention is that they are a little bit too sheer for me, especially these kind of metallic shades. I definitely prefer more of a punch, and these are more like a wash of color. And again, they are more so accent palettes than palettes that you would, you know, just buy if you just wanted one palette in your whole life. I mean, personally, I like that. I like that these are accent palettes, and they're the kind of palettes that you pull in with your more neutral kind of conservative palettes, just because I have so many palettes that I don't want to really buy things or have things in my collection that dupable or that aren't that unique, and I find that these definitely are different to a lot of the things that are on the market. So I think Linda Hallberg did a great job bringing these out. I think they're beautiful, stunning products. Again, personally, I would prefer it if these pans were smaller. Half the size would be fine for half the price. I think that would have made these kind of products a lot more accessible. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what is in store for her brand, because she's a fairly new brand, I feel, and everything I've tried from her so far, I've really enjoyed. Anyway, if you want to see how I got this look, as well as some swatches and dupes, then just keep watching. So I'm going to be demoing this look that I did because a lot of you seem to enjoy this one. And I think it's a little bit different from what I usually do. However, I am going to tweak it a little bit. I'm going to be using different shades, but the same sort of concept with the graphic liner. And I'm going to put my hair back because my fringe is getting to the point where it's just so in my face. I need to get it cut, which I'm getting it cut this week, so I can't wait for that. And I bought this cute little headband from H&M. I think it's really cute, although it's not the kind of headband I'd wear out, but for filming I thought it was perfect. So I'm going to start by priming my eyelids with Fear&A Pixie Epoxy, which is kind of like a glitter glue or a base that makes any shimmery metallic shades really pop. And I am using this because I find that if I don't use a base, these shades, these shimmer shades and the metallic shades just don't appear as vibrant on the eyelid. Another option is wetting your brush, but I personally don't really like to wet my brush, so that's why I'm using this instead. I also love Pixie Epoxy. If you've been on my channel for a while, you know that I always use that base. You know, you can't beat the price. It's like $5. Now for that look, I did use Gamma all over the mobile lid, but today I'm actually going to use the shade Bang, which is a metallic white shade, because I want to put one of the transformative shades on top of that. So I'm going to take this. This is a new brush actually. This is a Sonia G brush, and spoiler alert, I really like it. I'm just going to sweep that all over my mobile lid. I'm not going to take it out too far, just kind of to where my crease is, because I want to put the graphic liner where my crease is. Okay, so that's pretty much done. I'm going to take a bit of Bang and put that on my lower lash line as well. Now for the original look, I also did take Collision and used that as a liner, but I just felt like that was kind of too many elements happening at the same time. So I'm going to forego the liner, and I'm actually going to add one of the duochrome shades on top. I'm going to take Moonwake, which is this duochrome shade here, and I'm going to use the same brush and kind of just sweep it along. And you'll see that this shade on top of here does make it, give that a little bit of an interesting sheen to it, which I think looks really cool. So you can kind of see as I move my head, you'll see that color shift. This is probably not the best brush to use with these shades, just because it's quite dry and it doesn't pick up a lot of the eyeshadow. So you can also use your fingers if you want. Some people don't like to do that because they've got false nails. I feel like I went through a phase where I was into false nails, but then I realized anything that requires a lot of maintenance is just not for me. I'm too lazy for that. I'm also going to run that on my lower lash line as well. It looks a little bit bare right now, but I am going to add the graphic liner, and I think that's going to make it look a little bit more interesting. Now I actually have all 5 of the Mood crayons that came in that colorful pack because I did get this for Christmas. So I did use this orange shade in my video, and it is a gorgeous pop of orange, but I think I will try something different. I don't know, why not? Maybe the blue. Maybe the blue. The blue is gorgeous as well. This is what the blue looks like. Let's try the blue. I'm going to put it in the same places that I did in the original video. So I kind of added it in the inner corner, just like right here. And these are really, really creamy crayons. They're really nice to work with. I know it's kind of strange, but I like it. And now what I did up top here is I kind of looked at myself in the mirror, and because I feel like it's kind of hard to do graphic liner on my eyes because I have so many eyelid folds that I really have to place it quite strategically. So what I did was look at myself in the mirror and kind of I have a fold up here and I kind of continued the line. So I just kind of very lightly kind of started to draw it on. And then once I kind of had the outline, I pressed it a little bit harder. So if you've got the same kind of eye shape as me where you have tons of texture on your eyelids, I think that helps to actually look at yourself in the mirror. Obviously everyone's eye shape is different, so you just kind of have to make it work for you. It kind of went from like thin to a little bit thicker. Although it does help to have a sharp pencil, which this pencil is kind of getting blunt because it's so creamy. That's what it looks like, and then we're going to do it for the other eye and hopefully get it matching, because that's the real skill there, is getting both eyes to match. Yeah, I mean, they're kind of like, they're definitely not twins, but I don't know, maybe you're one of those people that find beauty in imperfection, let's hope. I am going to clean this up with concealer because I don't feel like it's quite sharp enough. So I've got my concealer all ready to go, and if you hear chomping in the background, that's my husband eating cereal at 10 o'clock at night. He just came up to me and was like, what's that weird shit on your face? It looks like you're going to be marked up for surgery, which in hindsight, it kind of does. But we're just going to ignore that rude comment and continue on. The good thing about having a fringe is if you F something up, you can just cover it with a fringe and no one will know what you did. This is not perfect. I definitely do not tell people that I'm the expert in graphic liner. However, I think it looks good enough. Now this might seem strange, but I do want to try Moonwake out as a highlighter. I'm gonna kind of bring it up close to where the liner is, so it kind of connects to the eyes. Definitely makes the cheeks look like they're kind of wet. I think that looks kind of cool. What do you think? Would it be overkill if I added some to the bridge of my nose? Maybe. Just everywhere that you would normally add highlighter. That's where I'm gonna put it. And then for lips, I'm just gonna use this Suqqu Extra Glow lipstick. And this is in 11. It's my handbag lipstick. It goes with every eye look, just because I don't want to detract from the eyes because they're quite strong. So this is the finished look. It's probably definitely not for everyone, but I like it. I think it's a bit different. I mean, you could just go in with the eyeshadow and I think it'd be quite nice because it is fairly sheer, but it does have a nice shift to it. And if you like wet looking eyes, I think it looks really nice. And Moonwake as a highlighter is beautiful. So I'm going to swatch the Enchanted Secrets palette first, and this is Moonwake, which is a purple blue duochrome with kind of a orangey sheer base to it. This is the one I'm wearing for my demo and I really enjoy it. Then we have Ethereal, which is described as a green-brown duochrome. The green is a fairly yellow-toned green, so it does pull quite greenish gold. And I love this shade paired with brown eyeshadows. Now, Zephyr on the website is described as a pink blue, but I think they mistakenly wrote that because it does look like a pink copper to me, and it really does remind me of Via Nectar from Pat McGrath Labs. Then we have Orphic, which is described as a dark grey / turquoise. To me, it kind of reminds me of like soot with specklings of blue kind of sparkles in it. This one is actually the most unique in this palette to my collection because I don't have any dupes for it. Of course, the first dupe that came to mind for Moonwake was Via Violet from Pat McGrath Labs. This one is more pigmented. Then we have Alchemy from Nubla, which pulls more pink. For dupes of Ethereal, we have Eye of Newt from indie brand Cleona. This one has less of a brown shift to it, but it is stunning. Play by Play is slightly darker and warmer, and then Tea Garden is darker still. Via Nectar from the Sublime palette is very similar to Zephyr, but this one is way more pigmented, as you can see here. Moving on to the Metallic Mysteries palette, we have Dead Star, which is kind of like a muted eggplant purple shade. I feel like for a metallic Eyeshadow, this really is not that metallic. I feel like this is more of a satin. By the way, sorry about the dodgy swatch. I don't think the base was fully dry yet before I started adding on the shadow. Next is Bang with an exclamation mark. This is pretty much your standard frosty white metallic shade. Although I would say this one pulls quite neutral. It's not a white gold, it's not a white silver. I think it's kind of like a true white shimmer shade. Gamma is a copper shade. This one is a little bit more pigmented, I feel, than some of the other ones. But again, it does need to be built up. And then Collision is this very high reflective champagne gold shade with kind of a sheer base to it. So it does make for a really great topper shadow. This one is probably my favorite one from the entire quad. It's also probably one of the shiniest eyeshadows I have in my entire collection. I don't have exact dupes, but Inception comes pretty close. It has warmer undertones, as does Livid from the Lila palette. Galaxy is a pretty close dupe, but it does have a thicker and chunkier texture. It's definitely harder to work with. First dupe is Copper 005, which is a richer and more of a true copper in my opinion. A spot-on dupe I would say is Hadia from Juvia's Place. This is from the Saharan 2 palette. So Collision really reminds me of the Still Magnificent Metals Glitter and Glow, and this one is Peachy Sheen. It's also got those kind of champagne gold sparkles, but obviously Collision isn't patchy. This top coat from Natasha Denona gives a similar-ish effect, but obviously it's cooler and darker. So that was my review. I hope you found it useful, and let me know if you've picked these up, what your thoughts were on them, or if you want them. Which one would you get? I think most people are more attracted to the Enchanted Secrets just because I feel like duochromes are pretty popular right now and they're really interesting and beautiful. If you want to see more of my face, please subscribe. I promise I don't always look like this. I don't always have eyebrows on my eyelids. But I hope to catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.